Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Friday, November the 16th, 2018. I don't know why, but I'm led to say again, Venus just stationed direct, and Mercury went retrograde. So, just saying. Also, tonight we're going to talk about standing in your power to start as love. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. Stand in your power as love and start respecting your soul and yourself. And even the phone absolutely agrees. So, I don't know about any of you guys, but I have been really feeling, I don't know, today especially, I guess. I don't know what's going on today for me, but like I'm really stepping into. And I'm just going to go with that. I'm really starting to step into all of me in a way that today at least, I have to say it's really been one of those kind of days where I have felt more in here. I don't know how else to put that.
See, other conversation that we were thinking about, that's exactly how you put it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so you know, as far as respecting my soul and myself, I feel like for the first time ever in my life, I respect and love myself more than I ever have. And I feel like it shows, and I feel different because of that.
Mm-hmm.
To me, trusting myself 100% feels like honor and respecting myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels really good to do that. Yeah. And there's stuff I'm learning by trusting 100% that I could not have discovered had I not gone there. So, yeah.
And you can't go there unless you trust.
Right.
Well, I did not trust myself 100 at first. And sometimes I still have, I catch myself is what I'm doing. I will, I don't know, I don't question myself nearly as much as I used to. Yeah, but I do sometimes catch myself every now and again on the trusting part. So there's that.
You mentioned that you feel different. I believe you even said you look different. Oh, yes. And since I'm looking at you, I can say, yeah, you do. There's a physical difference that look, but there's
there's a different feel too. I know.
I was going to say, yeah, there's a different energetic carriage. You know the phrase is that she had a great carriage, the way she held herself and walked and that kind of stuff. So, but there's a different energetic carriage which actually changes everything, because not only how you feel and look on the physical, but your skin gets more luminous and there's more life force to you. And if someone's been, because I can hear a couple of people, well, what are you talking about? What do you mean? So if someone's been sick or you've been sick and you feel pale, right, and kind of washed out, and you don't want to talk too loud, you don't want to because everything kind of is sensitive or hurts, or so it's kind of like this. And so that's what this is not. And when you are not only does your skin feel different and look different just from regular way that you would look from a linear perspective, but your whole essence, your whole physical carriage, the way that you hold and present yourself, never mind the way your feeling portrays itself through you to others, is dramatic. So some people, when you make up jumps like that and really, and it comes from that respect, it comes from that honoring and trusting. People say, oh, did you get your hair cut? Or because they know that something's different, like most have not ever experienced before, and they're not quite sure. So it's kind of like talking about the weather. So they talk, oh, you got a haircut, because something's dramatically different.
Yeah, I jumped over to a different screen, so I can't see the two of you, but because I was trying to find, but it's not where I thought it was, so I can't find it very easily. But I had something I was going to share with you to show what it is you're saying in regards to me specifically. I mean, I was kind of ill, yes, but there's been a lot of, there's just been a big change. Like you said, it's more than just a physical appearance. For me personally, it's an entirely different feel. And okay, so Lisa has said of me and others that I'm a big energy. Okay, I get that now, and I've always had. Of course, back then it was because of my weight. Anytime I entered a room, all eyes were on me. So I've always had that, right? But today specifically, I'm not 490 pounds anymore. So I was walking into a place today, and I had that same sensation, like all eyes were on me. And every person I walked past, and folks were stopping and talking to me, and I wasn't saying anything to anyone. I was just, so it was, but you said something about carriage, and that made me think about how I was walking through the store too. So, and there was something different about my carriage that I noticed today while I was, going about my errands. And at one point, there was a whole line of people at the cashiers that were all talking to me. It was pretty fabulous. It was pretty wild. I'd not experienced that kind of a thing like that.
Oh, fun.
Yes, there was, because the one line, I was returning something, so they had a separate line open for me. And the other line was getting really long because I guess it was kind of a newer lady at the other place. Mm-hmm. And so because there was a couple of folks that didn't look very happy about me being the only one in this other line or whatever. But there was a lady in the back that spoke to me, and she said, "Oh, you're fine." She said, "I don't have anywhere to be today." She was really nice. And then that started everybody in the line starting talking to me, talking to her. It was just a whole thing, and it was absolutely wonderful.
Right.
Well, you were setting the energetic tone.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. The carriage is different. So that phrase is a linear phrase, which actually relates, instead of saying hunched shoulders or kind of being small, it's, open and broad and expansive. So that, yes, it and the way you walk and look. So it does do your physical, but that's not the part that changes first.
No, you're right.
The inside changes, and because your body is amazing, but it's a vehicle. And the vehicle, a ship, it's a light body, so it's a light ship, which is actually what it is, which is animated by your soul. So when you allow, as you said, more of you to come in, and the way that can happen is because you are respecting and appreciating your soul and yourself. And notice how the soul is the one that gets respected. It's not a first or another, but it's not playing small, because you are your soul. So you're respecting yourself first and foremost, and yourself as well, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but if someone had just said to me, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, well, you don't respect yourself, or you're not respecting your soul, I would have taken issue with that. I would have said, oh, yes, I do. I respect myself. And I'm laughing because I know now that I was not.
Right.
But I could have, or probably would have, gotten all up, in my feels and, yes, I do,
Yeah.
But
so if you say I can't, or this is being done to me, or when are we going to get there, or nothing ever changes, or I could go on this soliloquy for, I don't know, years. And I wouldn't exhaust all of those. So that's disrespecting your soul and yourself it's a very simple way to describe it. And we do it in so many complex ways as well. And there's a lot of self-fooling, and self-misdirection, and that's an interesting way to put it. So ego mind grandizement, in the sense that you've got control of this, you've got it going on, you've got it handled. Mm-hmm. And yes, I am self-respecting myself, right? Except that all of that is from a totally illusory kind of company line, party line, whether you know it at that moment or not, standpoint, because it's from an energy frequency that really is, at its best, is wholly inaccurate of who you truly are, and at its worst, it's an anathema to the truth of who you are. So why is this important? Well, we could all count the ways.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's the only game in town.
It is.
I mean, it's the it's the be all end all of all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, again, to go very base, and I mean that base and linear, mm-hmm. It's the only way to get your fair share. Talking linear, it's the only way to get what's coming to you. It's the only way to get what so and 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 so took from you, right? Mm-hmm. All of that is an inaccurate way to say it, but if you're holding those thoughts and you're coming from that perspective, then it's absolutely correct to say that it's the only way you'll get that. And it's the only way that there's any justice, because it's justice from universal love and universal law perspectives, which there's only a handful. Like love is the ultimate energy, and there's a few of them. They're really easy, yet complex to deal with, and that's where it's from. So this is the only way to get there, and it can be very simple, just so sublimely delicious in its simplicity, and it can feel and be perceived to be excruciatingly difficult. I mean, excruciatingly difficult.
Yeah, I really, I gotta say that and I think this applies to a whole lot of stuff. Because I saw this a lot, and I mean, it's not that I saw it, I see it constantly, actually, even still, with water. It is so simple. It is so simple, but so important, and everybody writes it off as not being important, and it's absolutely foundational. It is without the proper amount in things, our bodies get out of whack, and it throws everything. So much so that the most simple thing, the building block of life, and we've all been taught that it's not important enough, and it kind of snowballs on top of that, and it's just so simple that I include myself in on that it can't be that easy.
Right.
Yes, it can. And so that was my first foray, if you will, into something that is so simple and so easy and so basic, as that can make that big of a difference in a person's life. Because make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, had I not gotten that under control, I wouldn't be sitting here now at all, because I was on my way off the planet for real. And so I've noticed that that's not the only thing. Now, there are this too, while seemingly very complex, because we've got this whole idea that, well, that just can't be that easy. It can't be that easy, but I gotta feel
well, if it was, or the company, and make no mistake, it's a company line, no coincidences, that comes in right by it. Well, if it was that easy, everybody would have done it. Yeah. Because how do you deflect somebody? How do you obfuscate? How do you give a distortion on a distortion? You have that. Because then you can all go off, have a beer at the pub, poo-pooing on, yeah, the right, off you go. And again, that's part of the choreography. It's delicious. It really is beautiful choreography. And that's why, and maybe someday we'll have a conversation about this, because it would be such a fun, expansive one. But that's why these things work, and they all dovetail together, because each moment really is a choice point to, in a simple way, love or fear. So, which is hold or not, right? And it's so, yeah, okay. So one thing I think would be helpful right in this moment is what does it look like, feel like, what do you get a sense of when you are respecting your soul? You're making that your absolute number one priority above everything else. Everything else. Period. Full stop. End of sentence. So you're also 100% committed to it. Which on the one hand you'd think goes with the priority, but some people kind of miss that part, and it does. So, well, I just want to relax and watch TV. Okay. Well, that's disrespecting your soul and yourself. And it's not making it your priority, and it's not 100% all in for that. Because so the screaming is now really loud. Because the energetic of what I just described, of I just want to relax and watch some TV, is an energetic frequency. As if you think of it as, like this shirt, you can see this shirt, right? It's colorful, it's black, and there's a red shirt underneath, right? And it's, it's got seams if I look closely, so I can see it. So that frequency that I just talked about is as tangible, noticeable, palpable, right? Definable, quantifiable, identifiable, right? All those things as these two shirts right here.
Yeah.
Even if you don't read energy, think you don't read energy. So that's why I say that. Now, does it mean that this is some special diet and you can only sit on a mountain and you got to have your head at the right angle and then your other leg at a certain angle over your head and absolutely no TV and just watch the goats parade by? No.
If you're lucky enough to have some goat.
Well, can I just say thank God for that? Can I just say thank God for that? Because I would fail.
It could be fun. The goats. I don't know. I got some goats.
I'm actually playing both sides of it a little because there are some people who say, well, you can only ascend if you do X, Y, and Z, kind of like what I just described. Mm-hmm. Or so it has to do with the energetic frequency more than anything else.
Yes.
Because you can do healthy, quote unquote, things all day long, eat the right food, drink enough water, and just. But if you are trash talking yourself 99% of the day, it doesn't matter how much water you drink. If you're doing all these other, because those are energetic frequencies, and because they come first. The energy comes first, and then it matters. It materializes out to the thing. And all of those different components of that are the recipe, that you're creating for you.
Yep. Well,
you're experiencing that creation.
Yeah. Yeah. Just look around. There's a whole lot of people.
Yeah. Another motivation for being committed. 100. Really, there's nothing to lose in this.
Yeah.
The only thing that you could lose is yourself by not. Right. I mean, that's the loss, really, is just wanting to watch TV. That's not living. You're not fully alive. I mean, that's, for me, allowing my I am presence to lead the day is so rewarding. I don't want to choose anything else. Anything else pales by comparison. And the more that I allow my I am presence to lead this parade, the way more fun that I have. Not only the things that I find myself doing, but like you said, the energetic envelope that is always present is so much more delicious. That, it's not always about the most exciting thing that I'm doing. It's the excitement I have in doing a thing. Right.
Right.
So that's different. It is.
Yeah. It's a frequency.
Yeah, and it isn't dictated by what it is that I'm doing. Because I know there's lots of things that I'm doing because well, I don't want to say obligation, but there are just some things that just are right now. And so I'm not in resistance to them, but I also don't feed them anymore with my energy. So my energy is fully supported already. And when I come from that frame of mind, also, I notice that everything flows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's just a delicious acknowledgement when I acknowledge myself and I am beholding something and I acknowledge that as myself. Then there's I don't know. There's not only the I am presence I'm leading with, but then I see that I am everything I'm beholding, everything I'm experiencing, and from that space. There's no problems. I feel whole. I feel complete. And so I'm finding that less and less do I want to just sit around and watch TV. Like that isn't even a desire that comes to me anymore. So you're so right about that being an energetic.
Yeah. Well, and people will, so you mentioned a couple things I wanted to play with a little. You said, following where my I am presence is leading me. Now, sometimes that may be to watch a particular video, or to even actually, if you can find one, to turn on or stop if you're someplace and there is a TV to watch it. So, but it's at the behest and the direction and the flow of your soul and your I am presence, rather than, and that was just one example. That one popped into my head, so I used it. I just want to relax. Well, that's, I just want to be left alone. I just want to I just want to not have to
check out
anything, right? Because it's the energetic behind all of that. Again, it's not love, it's fear, because those are the only two. And it's of being beaten, of being whipped. Just give me some peace and quiet. Just give me a minute. The irony to me of that is when you do step into the peace and quiet, it's so loud and so vivacious and so fantastic. And there's a lot of stuff going on, right? That you realize, wow, this is energizing. And this is really floats my boat big time on all sorts of ways. Yes, the peace and quiet, and yes, the calm and settled, and yes, all sorts of other ways. And you mentioned too, Lisa, that it's so exciting and so yummy to do this that you wouldn't have it any other way. So someone at that moment said, well, maybe it was a couple of months, because one, it was a combination of, well, how do you get there? And well, you don't understand, I have to do these other things. Part of it is how you hold your energy and how you behold those other things that on one perspective, they're perceived as annoying, painful, stressful, gotta do the grind, whatever. Yet if you behold them in a whole nother way, and you actually said it, but you said it with a smile on your face and with your energy being so expansive, that I think a lot of people miss that a couple of things you were alluding to, what one could describe in a linear, more narrow focus, really not all that great to be hanging out with or doing, right?
Yes.
And so I watched you, and I thought, a lot of people just missed what she was describing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, BZ, because I was actually going to say something about that too, because that's exactly correct. We all, even, those of us who are, feeling this way, like Lisa and I, we still live in this world. And so there are all kinds of things that, we have to do because it is the way it is at the moment. But I've noticed for myself, I hold it in a different way. And you actually mentioned it the other night. I view these things as tools that I'm using in this moment of now. That for me is different than, oh, I gotta go do this now. That's a whole different energetic.
Yeah.
And it not only feels different to me, I don't feel trapped by any of these things. I don't feel oppressed by these things. Now, I know there is at least a couple of beings out there.
Wait, you said something really, really important. So I want to stop you for a minute. This is you said something huge.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. I don't feel trapped by this. And I don't remember the exact word. What was the next one? I don't feel oppressed. Okay, so stop. Okay. What I want to really note here, like put a pin and a ribbon and neon pointers.
Right.
Yeah. Because when you used to feel trapped and you used to feel oppressed, okay, those are energy frequencies. Those are cleverly, beautifully, and I mean beautifully crafted and designed for you to pick up and feel and wear that as this mantle of the story of who you are. Right. By design. Mm-hmm. It's a calculated, wonderfully nuanced set of energy frequencies that your surroundings have been calibrated and modulated to, so that you feel that and you bring more of it to you and you cloak yourself in it. And no, you don't have the same carriage that I have right now about what I'm talking about, because it's like kind of stuff. But the reason I want to mark that is because that's part of the design. That's part of people, you hold up this system and that structure and this system and that. It's all part, and they're not broken. Right. So what you're talking about is part of that design. Mm-hmm. In making it all work, in making the false construct work, and in doing it in such a sublimely delicious, really exquisitely beautiful way that it's self-perpetuating. It's self-feeding. You don't have to watch the slaves. You don't have to watch the peons. You don't have to watch the little sheep, because we got them on a roll and they'll do it. And you know what? They'll kick the others who are getting out of line out of this exquisite storyline and say they got a tinfoil hat, or they're nuts, or they're a black sheep, right? Because it's so beautifully devised and sculpted and scripted that I can be over here on vacation kicking back, reaping my rewards of this thing I set up, and they're all managing it for themselves. And lest, for the most part, anybody get out of line, whoop, whoop. I mean, they got them right back in line. It's pretty damn cool. I mean, we are good. Except, the energies are expanding, and there were some of these pesky, small in number compared to the 6 something billion on the planet, but they're good size and spread all around. Oh my God. And spread all around the planet.
Well, it was, but then it came back.
Yeah. These pesky lights of beings didn't mind being called a black sheep or a nut job or a wacko or a woo-woo, whatever, right? And they didn't mind the increased oppression. They didn't mind the increased isolation given by family and friends and all that kind of stuff. They didn't, I'm talking about the beings, didn't mind the loneliness or the pain or all these other, and I'm just putting some words that are perceived, because I used to perceive them that way, on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really kind of hard to fathom when you're over here sitting back in the chaise lounge and, you know, your sheep and everything was supposed to be. And so they didn't mind it. What would be a more accurate way to describe it is they had a bigger either a hole or a bigger glimmer of that respect for their soul, that even if they didn't understand it, even if they couldn't repeat it, even if they couldn't explain it to somebody else or themselves, you know, they knew that that was the ticket out. They knew that that was the only way to get. And if that was, and it's not a price to pay, if that was the flow and the things to maneuver, you know, like you're on a racetrack and you, okay, well, there's a high turn and, you know, you hear the race caller is going, there's like a high turn. Oh, they're in a double S and, you know, right. And so you knew it. And yeah, part of you might have gone, okay, wow, you know, and you're not wiping just sweat off, you know, you're wiping some red stuff off you as well. But that was there. And then more and more beings. And now there's not a lot of kicking back on the chaise lounge over here anymore, because try as they might, you know, those damn black sheeps, there's more of those than the white sheeps, and they're radiating love, not anger, right? Not fear and oppression. It's okay, we're cool, you know, as Lisa said the other day, it's great in here, come join us, we're here when you arrive, let's play. No, I'm not going to come rescue you, no. And this isn't just Lisa, this is all, right? Not going to come rescue you. No, I'm not going to show you how to do it. No, I'm not going to do it for you. No, I'm not going to help you do your homework, read, I'm going to fill in all the blanks for you, right? Because it's an inside job. So that's just a little bit of a look of kind of the behind the curtains with all of this, what really is going on, and what the payoff is for doing.
Well, the payoff is pretty daggum huge, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and unlimited.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Pretty huge.
It changes every moment. It expands every moment. It gets more vibrant and more beautiful, sweet music, triumphant music, you know, crescendos of the most, think of the score for a movie that you saw that just swelled within you and filled you up and really set this whole thing on just magic for whatever it was, you know, that you were now totally immersed in. And that gives you a really pale, uninspired description of what it's like, what the payoff is. And you can never see, touch, feel, be in even just a little bit of it, and even more than just a little bit in one moment, because you keep creating more. You do this. You're the genesis of this. You know, that's the other thing, that's when you really start to grok this, you know, someone says, so-and-so did this to me. Or I screwed up. Or, oh yeah, I had a good day. I created something. It was cool, you know, and it flowed pretty good. But what we're never really holding and realizing is that we do this to ourselves. So whatever perception you have on it, and because we're not small and we're not linear and we're not just this being in this body, in this shirt here, we're everything. And our perceptions, the way we perceive the good, the bad, the ugly, the awful, the crunchy, the jubilant, again, are all just pale descriptions of what really is so. And just a tiny whiff of what really is so. And a very skewed view of what really is so. And the extent, and this is where it's cognitive dissonance. I'll give you that. You know, I can't tell you how many times in my journey so far, just in this shirt, that, you know, even knowing it, even understanding what I speak of, even feeling it, I've gone, wow, that is some cognitive dissonance shit there. Let me tell you. I mean, you know, it's, but that still doesn't change it.
Nope.
So when, and you have to, yes, everybody can help each other, absolutely, and it's delicious when that happens. And you know, can play with others, bring them along, be with them, all different iterations of that. And maybe this is part of the simplicity and the excruciatingly difficult is you can't see it until you see it. You can't understand it, grok it, comprehend it until you get it. Like it gets in you, in the inside part of you. And then it's like, wow, yeah, well, of course, that makes total sense. Where 5 minutes ago, you're like, what are you talking about? You're nuts.
I really like the way Magenta Pixie, in one of her videos she did recently, was about shoot. Hang on. It wants to leave, but I'm going to... Was I just run over by a passing train of thought? What did PZ just say? Sorry, that will help me.
Well, I was talking about how you can't get it till you get it. And when you get it, it's like, wow, yeah. And all of the pieces fall into place. And you said that reminds me of something that Magenta Pixies, you just said it.
Oh, it's an alchemical response. It's not a gift that somebody can hand you. It's something that clicks inside of you. Like you just suddenly get it. Like the light inside turns on. Yeah, and I used to be frustrated by that, to be brutally honest. But now I find it really quite sublimely delicious because I look for it and I anticipate it and I know it's coming, right? And so that moment, like I savor it. It's almost like the best part, you know, this is too much information, but when I'm eating, I like to save my favorite morsels for the last. And so there's this certain way now that I look upon this and I can savor it. Like I can enjoy even being frustrated with myself right now because I know that it's the precursor to that alchemical moment where I get a thing. If I stay open, because the minute I, you know, get into the frustration and go, and get lost in it instead of going, oh, wait a minute, I'm really frustrated. There's something here for me, and really dive into it with both feet. And even that is really, really fun.
You and I kind of talked about this a little earlier in the week, and that's on that topic specifically is on my list now for us to talk about, because I feel like that's a much longer conversation. But I agree. There's because what I wrote was what will it take to trigger the alchemical epiphany within? Because I do think that there's something to that, and that's why
you can trigger it, and you can trigger it, boom, all at once, or you can trigger different, let's say, molecules of that alchemical epiphany, right? And they then come together, and then you have the Big Bang, so to say. Yeah. And you can feel it if you can feel it on the outside of your skin. You'll feel in different ways, but it's like if you're someplace and there's a gust of wind or a rush of wind or a change in the air temperature, you can feel it. It was warm and now it's cooler, or cool. It was really hot and you cooled off, and it's refreshing. It's that feel, a cool breeze on your face when it's a sweltering day. Oh, hang on, wait, that feels good. Just like you said, Lisa, you're savoring it. And what's delicious is when you are, what we're focusing on here is, respecting your soul, and you're standing in that and immersed in that space of love. And how you do those things, as we talked about, is where you're, it is your top priority, and you are, 100% or beyond committed to that. When that savoring moment comes forth, whether it's the whole thing or, I think it's just like, nothing ever begins or ends. It's never truly completely, because it just keeps going. But
right.
You're rolling in that event horizon of that alchemical transformation,
exactly.
right? Which could be perceived as a nanosecond or several eternities, depending on and actually both are extremely accurate. Again, depending on the aperture. But when you begin to feel some of that, and everybody will feel in different ways, Lisa talked about the savoring of it, that in itself is a really gorgeous act of honoring and respecting and fully immersing yourself in that energetic with your soul. And it begets more. So if you were like in this, kind of metaphor, you were doing a molecule of that change, you're actually stringing a whole bunch of them together, and so you have kind of an alchemical popping happening, because you're noticing it actually lets you flow in the trajectory of it. And it's a way for you to actually say, not instead of just raising your hand saying I'm all in, you're actually saying it, doing it, being it, beholding it, and following the flow of it all at the same time. And it feels fabulous. And it is fabulous, because what it contributes in that moment to the all is unfathomable. It's so huge and so full of love. And what I'm talking about is you, the individual, what you are creating in that moment to the all, what you are giving to each fellow human on this planet, to all other beings in all of the multiverses of source, is, there's not really a way to describe it, because it's everything. It's all.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of what I have said before that's a bit comical to me is, how, it's in some cases I have seen the Mm. The wildest things where, we are all one, and yet, it's just kind of funny, some of the things I've seen. And so, yes, we are all one and unique. And that's why I can feel what you're saying there is very not only true, but important. And what I've noticed, thank you. What I've noticed is that, oh, that's funny. Whenever anyone actually, what Lisa and I have actually experienced this with it, whenever anyone is respecting their soul by following nudges, you might not know why you're led to do a thing, but if you follow that nudge, I just talked about this in one of my musings this morning, is that we have no idea what could be driven by that following of that nudge. It may be just the thing that kicks over just the right domino that begins something, because for the very reason I mentioned, we're all one. So, and because we're all one and yet unique, we are all necessary as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's damn important to follow the nudges, to respect yourself, to love yourself, to open oneself up to self, and allow yourself the to the leeway to allow your soul to unfold all of that for you, because that's really what has taken place for me.
Right. It's an unfurling of that love energy frequency, of true love energy frequency. Just like a flower unfurls, or the beat of a bird taking, the flight of the wings, all those feathers spread out and they ride the thermos. If you've ever truly watched live right in front of you, or a good video of it, of a bird riding and soaring the thermos, it's a beautiful, magical dance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of what it's twofold. On the one way, you could say we are remembering that we've done in the past, and in a much more encompassing, expansive, and a right here, right now, in this moment way, we're catching the event horizon of that alchemical reaction that's happening, that you spoke of from the 9. And so that is unfurling. But again, we are the ones who unfurl it. So if you want to continue where you're feeling like you're under the thumb, or that people keep ripping you off, or those banksters, or whoever your favorite, punching bag is over there, then great. And that's a beautiful choice, because there is expansion there. There is transformation there. It's a different path, but it's all good. It really is. And I would say, add to that, if you want to have that, and you like that, and you want a never-ending supply to rail against it, then absolutely do not honor your soul or yourself. And certainly don't do it now. Don't get started anytime soon. Because when you start even a little bit, and in the energy frequencies that are coming from you, it's an inside job, baby, and they're coming from you. You are the central sun, is in you.
Well, going back to the idea of that, it is so simple. It really is. I mean, a lot of those things that you just mentioned there, the, perceived oppression, the perceived slavery and all of that. Your wish is your command. So as long as, for a long time, I didn't like the word belief because I felt like if I believed in something, it became more concrete and it's harder to change. But also recognize in this moment of now that there's a difference for me between belief and knowing.
Big difference.
If I'm believing something is sort of a hopeful thing, and I know because I just heard it that from someone out there. No, it's not. Well, again, that's the language kind of sucks in this respect because ordinarily I would sort of agree, but
it doesn't kind of suck.
Well, but I know that. Yes, the language absolutely sucks. But
it really is terrible and useless.
But there is a big difference between belief and knowing. And
yep. There is.
And I mean, yes, I have a little sign on the back of my wall in my bedroom that everyone has seen on camera. And I, like I said, I've had a bit of a hard time with that word for various different reasons. And when I was beginning on my path and opening up to possibilities and potentials, I was recognizing in those around me that held certain beliefs that it was like they couldn't open up and consider anything else outside of that belief. That was one of the reasons that, in my perception, my experience, which is what informs one, is their experiences. I was seeing that, well, beliefs ain't the greatest thing to have because then you get all stuck in your idea of what a thing is and you won't even consider something else.
They lock you to your storyline.
Say what now?
They lock you to your storyline.
Right.
And what they do. And then there's a whole conundrum that you come up with, well, but I believed that and I invested that. And so that was how I got my identity with that. And so this is either a whole other subject or a part 2 or whatever, because it's really big what I'm about to say here. So I'll just touch on it for a moment. But, or maybe not, because it just, okay, I've just been edited. I'm not saying that. Sorry.
Okay. Well, actually, I did hear somebody else say, wait a minute, you can't do a part 2 on this one because you're waiting on something else. So.
Yeah, well, that's okay because I was edited.
I promise you it's coming.
The big producer came in and just said, "Yep."
Uh-oh, and now
she froze.
I know, right? Not only was she edited, but now she's been stalked completely.
I know. Come
at
back.
least she's laughing.
I know. I love that. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
I know.
Am I back? Nope, I'm gonna disappear.
Are you back?
Are you really with us? Where'd you go, honey? What happened?
I was definitely redirected.
I see that. Well, at least your picture stopped on a very lovely picture of you smiling.
Right. Very clearly redirected in case I hadn't been paying attention. So
okay.
Well, please write that down for a future.
Yeah.
Because obviously it must be a big
We
one.
don't lose it.
Well, what I was going to say though,
Yeah.
BZ, is that was one of the biggest things for me when I began. I mean, we're on a journey our entire lives, but when I really started opening up and actively seeking, what do we mean by all this? The beliefs were the first thing that I had to say, oh, no, I don't believe in anything at the moment because it's too hard to change beliefs, because that was my experience from everybody else around me. Folks weren't able, for whatever their own reasons are, and that's fine, whatever, to even open up to consider a different way, a different thought, a different idea, outside of whatever this belief was that we were discussing. And it could be anything. And it has been several things.
Yeah, and I can remember people saying, you don't really believe that, do you? I said, absolutely not. And then they're even more confused than they were a minute ago. I said, no, I don't believe that. I know it. I absolutely know it. Well, how do you know it? Who told you that? I told me that. I know it. I have direct experience of knowing that in all so many different ways. And I can describe those in different ways, right? And some I can't, but on most of them I can, depending on what the subject is. And that person doesn't have to believe it. They don't have to understand the difference of what knowing is or have a feeling of that. But they can stand in my field and see this beacon, so like I become the definition of I know it. Because they can feel it. They can sense it, even if they're very closed in and asleep in that moment. And they may not know what it is, and they may not have vocabulary for it, but they, know that they just encountered something which is much different than believing in something or not. It's a force to be reckoned with. It is, because it comes from love, so you could also say it is love. That being, it's stronger than anything. Because it's, bullets or anything else.
Well, something you just said just there brought this huge thing forward for me. I have said many times that when I first started this, part of my other thing was, what do you mean you have a knowing? Because I didn't get that. I couldn't grasp that. And it just came in for me that, wow. Of course, I didn't have a knowing because I didn't trust myself, number one, and I didn't respect myself, and I didn't love myself. So how the flying hell did I think I was going to know something?
Because you were spitting on all the knowings that were coming to you. Hot tui, hot tui, hot tui, tui.
As a matter of fact, you are dead smack on.
Yeah, and I'm dead serious. I'm not kidding.
Your advice to me about going back and looking at some of my videos with you and Lisa has proved that out to me. Mm-hmm. Just recently here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're right. Even when I did have a knowing, I spat on it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, that feels really huge.
We're each in different places, and we've each gone through and are going through and different gyrations on this. But as a whole, human beings are incredibly disrespectful. Incredibly disrespectful. And I'm not talking about to anybody out there. I'm talking about right here. The level and depth and depravity of the disrespect that we have for our soul and ourself, until we get off it and change that, is gobsmackingly egregious and huge. And we wonder why heretofore things hadn't been changing or hadn't been moving, or why we were so easily duped or corralled or fooled. And when we're in the moment of our unfolding where we're righteously pissed off at what those bankster rats and everything else has done to us, has stifled, has choked off from us, has perpetrated slavery upon us, we don't really have much of a leg to stand on, because we were so engrossed in our disrespect for our soul and ourself that we gave authorization to and acquiescence to and absolute, yeah, I'm in, do it to me, because that's was the only way that it was, because we were that energy frequency. We were an absolute, not only just a match, we were a perfect fit. We were a perfect fit.
Yes, and you know, there's a crap ton of us out there right now who are still disrespecting ourselves.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I don't know, this so many of the different little sayings and things, because one of them popped into my mind when you were speaking there. For some reason, charity begins at home. This home right here, being kind to myself, respecting myself, loving myself, and following my own nudges as they come up, and being open to seeing how I've allowed myself to be programmed, conditioned, oppressed, all of those things, and then setting about no more. I'm running this show now, and meaning that and moving forward in that. It's the most empowering thing I have ever done in my life. Ever.
Right. Because when you're in that place, you come from love. You stand in love, because you cannot get to that place if you don't. You can't, doesn't work. They don't happen. It doesn't happen. You can't get there if you're not standing in love.
No, that's right. But I do want to say this too, though, BZ, because it is very confusing. And I don't want to make it, this feels huge for some reason. The language is so wrong. Yes. And we all have this horrible misconception about not just ourselves, but each other. And it's really important for everyone, in my view, anyway. It was important for me to comprehend on a very deep level that none of us speak the same language. We just don't. It's being called English, but that is not what goes on here at all. Our each individual unit of us has experienced this language in particular ways. And it is that alone that informs one of what that word means, not the definition, not the going to the dictionary and looking it up. That is not what informs a person of a word or a feeling or whatever. It is a person's experience of that. And my experience has been completely different than anyone else's, and rightfully so. And so therefore, the way we have to go about finding our way in this is going to be different and individual. There are some things, that's why I think it's important for these conversations to offer ways to think about a thing, but that's not meaning that it's going to be right for everybody. It's not. It's just not. It can't ever be.
It's just a transmission.
Right.
It's a transmission of energy. So you could look at it as like a beam of visible light that has, you can see the different particles, you can see the different whiffs of energy, you know, or like you see a mist or something, right? Coming off, it has different colors, and that moment with the energy that you are predominantly residing in, the energy frequency that you're predominantly residing in, when that transmission comes out, this and this and this, wow, it, you know, it sparkles, like it seems bigger, like it's, you know, the bubbles are this big as opposed to this big for somebody else. And that transmission comes out, and you as the receiver and the creator, that's like, you know, some paints in your paint box, and you go, oh, and you play with it. And then you're over here and you're over here, and those come together, and you're then painting that picture for you. So what in the last few minutes, what each of us have described perfectly is that example of unity, or one, and the singularity.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because each one has their own path to do this, and their own choice and how to do it, or to do it at all, from this linear vessel. And yet we are all expanding. There is expansion, the unification, the unity in the one is expanding, because that's the gig in the multiverse, right? And there's only one here. And if you could hold it too, if threads within the amazing tapestry of one keep proving their, we could say their metal or their fiber, using the tapestry metaphor, to be one that is not of expansion and not of flow and not of seeking out in greater and greater and greater ways. And so I'm not saying, you know, they're only on the fluffy bunny train here. So just want to be clear. So if they're on the really black goopy train, that's expansion, right? Because it's all flowing back into the same stream of the oneness of love. It brings in the totality, the full spectrum of that. So if there are threads, you know, in that keep proving their metal to not be doing that, then the one brings, you know, those different threads back into no thingness, pure potentiality, strips all that was kind of, you look at fiber under magnifying glass, you can see that, yes, it's a fiber, but it has lots of little kind of things up. So those would be perceptions. Those would be your own experiences, right? Of any and all lives and entity forms heretofore you had taken, that all goes back. All that is completely reformed and comes out as a new thread. Anyways, that's another way, because you can keep doing this in every conversation we have, where you have one and the singularity that's unique. They are whole. One cannot exist without the other. So they're both correct, and they're both of a piece of each other.
Yep.
So I, for me, would just end by saying, in this moment of this moment, start now.
Well, I, for me, will say, you won't regret it. I mean, and that's just it, nothing, well, no, I was about to say nothing has changed. Everything has changed, and yet nothing has changed. For me personally, I don't know how to, both of those things are true. Sorry, can't explain it any other way. Everything has changed for me, and yet on another hand, nothing has changed. I'm in this house,
Okay, so I'm going to take back the last thing for me. I'm going to say, that's a whole other really big conversation that's really important, because I'm just writing it down, because I would take galactic size umbrage at that characterization.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me clarify so I can make sure to...
No, wait, save it. We'll have for the whole conversation, because now people are like, what?
Okay.
What?
Okay, you're right. I'll save it. Lisa, would you like to have a last word?
Thanks for playing. I had a really good time. This was a beautiful cap to a beautiful day for me as well. That was very lovely.
The only reason I laughed at you, Lisa, is because I was about to say, because Lisa's already doing it. She's started now, so she's doing more of just this expansion and the whole ride. So, that moment was gone. We're at this check envelope wasn't. She's in the next moment.
Well, in that case, then I will just end it here and say that we will have links to both Lisa and BZ's blogs in the Show More section of this video, along with how to join Conscious Conversation Central Facebook page and how to get in touch with me. My email address is in there. And if you feel so led, I love to hear from everyone in the comments and or at my email address. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.